All right, guys, we're going to start up. Welcome. My name is Kyle Troy. I am the biologist here for the Marine Education Center. It's a bit of a glare. I'm going to try to read your comments as best as I can. So today we're going to be talking about the intertidal zone, that zone you were just looking at. So I'm going to turn you back around. So this, it doesn't look like much. Can anybody see anything? Let's see if you can answer. What do you see in the background? And the comments may come in slow, so I apologize. So it kind of looks like a bunch of rocks, right? And then you have the water behind us. Does anyone remember what water this is? I'll give you a couple seconds to answer with your friends and family, and then I will answer. Yes, Catherine, water. There is water back there. So the water that you see is the Long Island Sound. So the Long Island Sound is an estuary. That's a big word, but it means brackish water. So brackish water is salt and fresh water. So the fresh water that comes from behind me is the Mamaroneck River, because that's where I'm located, Mamaroneck, New York. And then where do we think the salt water comes from? Anyone out there tell me where the salt water comes from? So we have the fresh water from the Mamaroneck River, and then we have salt water. Let's see if anyone can tell me where that salt water comes from. So that salt water comes from the Atlantic Ocean. So this makes for a very special place. There's tons of animals and plants and lots of visiting animals, and they come through. Nice, Catherine. Again, Atlantic, yes. So there's a lot of migratory animals that come through here too. Today we're going to be talking about this area right behind me, right here. And can anyone see anything back there? Let's see what we see back there. We said the water. What else do we see? So we don't see much, right? But there's actually lots and lots of animals that live right here, right where I am. This is part of the intertidal zone. So as you can see, there's a wall here, but this all used to be grass. So there's a lot of animals that live here. I'm going to turn you back around to me again, and we're going to take a little walk. So you always want to walk really carefully when you're down here. Say you come down here with someone like me, because there are lots of animals, so you don't want to step on them or hurt them. Because you never want to come down here without someone like me, like a marine biologist, because it's a very special ecosystem. So I do programs every week here at the Marine Education Center, and we do stuff like I'm going to show you today. So one of the animals that we're going to talk about specifically today is this guy. I'm going to turn you back around again. And let's see if anyone can notice him. Can anyone notice an animal down there? I'll be surprised. Let's see if anyone can see that. Anyone know what that is? So I'm going to take him out. And he's very hard to get out, and I'll tell you why later. Let's see. What is that? Can anyone tell me? And again, the comments come in slow, but once you put them in, I'll answer. I'm going to have you guys answer at home with your parents or friends. So can anyone tell me what this animal is? Let's see what you're saying at home. And you get very dirty if you were to come to the Marine Center and do this with me, but it's fun to get dirty. So this is very close, very close. And I think it's Damaris. Hopefully I'm not pronouncing that wrong. So this is a ribbed mussel. So a clam also lives down here, and you could see, let's see, actually I'm going to put him down for a second. This is a part of a clam shell, but this is a soft shell clam. They live down here. And then the next couple weeks we'll talk more about each of these animals, but today I'm going to talk about this one. And it's a bivalve. So bivalve means two shells, just like a clam. So it has two outer shells here. And it's called a ribbed mussel. Let's see. And you saw how tough it was for me to get it out. So that's the first thing we're going to talk about. So let's see. I'm going to try to find one more. They're all over the place, but they hide deep down, and they're very hard to get out. Let's see. It's always fun doing this. It's an adventure. Okay, here's another one. You see them down there? So they like to live in the mud. They like to live by those plants I was telling you about. And they're very strong because they have these. And I'm going to see if you guys can see them. Hopefully the sun's strong today. Can you guys see those little hairs? Does anyone know what those hairs are called? I'd like to know if anyone knows what those little hairs are called. Makes them very strong. Let's see. There you go. See how dirty I'm getting? So I'm going to tell you that in 2 minutes. So these hairs are what helps them stay in place. And they're called byssal threads. So those are why it's so hard to get them out. So they're not like, they're called mussels. They're called ribbed mussels, but they're not like the muscles in your arms. If you put your arm up and try to make a mussel, it's not like those mussels. This is a mussel because it's very strong. No, they're not called mussels because they're very strong. This one's called a ribbed mussel. Can anyone see why it's called a ribbed mussel? Let's see. Do you see those creases in it? Anyone see those creases all over its shell? Let's see. So those are why it's called a ribbed mussel. They look like ribs. They have ribs all over them. And another fun fact about this ribbed mussel, very special animal in the Long Island Sound ecosystem, is that you can tell their age by how many ribs are on their shell. It's a little hard to do, but that's how you tell how old they are. And they can live about 15 years old. They look small, but they can get old. And most of them get about 4 to 5 inches. So we're going to walk back over here because I want to open this guy up for you and show you how they move. I'm going to switch back over. Okay, so I'm using this, which is very special, something I use. But I'm going to open this guy up, show you his insides. So ribbed mussels are very special in the Long Island Sound. Can anyone guess who eats these guys? I don't know if some of you are new, maybe some of you have been on before and heard me talk about one single special animal and can tell me if you remember what eats them. Let's see. Birds, yes, birds eat them. Sea stars eat them, if you guys remember. And blue crabs eat them. So I'm going to show you the inside. Yucky! So that's the inside of them. So again, a lot of animals eat them. So what I do with these guys is I feed them to the animals in my tanks. And if you guys come down, like you've seen in the previous episodes, you could look at all the animals in my tanks. So these, one of the reasons why they're so important is because other animals eat them. Like the animals in my tanks, I have blue crabs. I don't have any birds. So I'm going to show you, because we had a question earlier, how they move. So they usually just stay pretty much in place, but they do have a foot, and you probably can't see it very well. They do have a foot, and if you guys again come down, I do this once a week. Show everybody the inside of a mussel, because these are a living animal. A lot of people just think they're shells, because you find these shells everywhere, right? Because birds crack them open, other animals crack them open, they wash up on the beach. So if you look really closely, it's hard to show you, but I'm putting my shaka right there. You see that? Let's see. See that? That's, hopefully you guys can see. So if there's a glare out here, it's pretty hot. So they have gills. Those are their gills. And right here is something called a mantle. And this is actually how you could tell if they're a boy or a girl. It's not the only reason for the mantle, but during the summer, the girl has a browner mantle and the boy has a yellower mantle. See that? You could kind of see the foot. So the foot again helps them move. Gills help them breathe. And then you have their shell. And what do you think their shell helps them do? What do you think their shell helps them do? Protects them, right? Protects them. And I got it all dirty, but they do have a stomach. They do have a stomach. And what, does anybody know what a ribbed mussel eats? Anybody know? Sorry if you guys can't see that well. Anybody know what this guy eats? So he lives down in the dirt. He doesn't move much. Let's see. So that brings me to the other reason why they're so important to the Long Island Sound ecosystem and to a lot of ecosystems. They're filter feeders. So they filter feed plankton. Very good. You're very smart, Damaris. So they he was kind of right there. They're filter feeders, so they filter out a lot of those toxins in the water, a lot of those bacterias, because they eat plankton. And I'd like to know if anybody out there knows what plankton is. And I have an episode coming up with you guys talking about plankton. And I also do a Facebook Live for the Marine Education Center on my Facebook, starting again in September. So we'll be talking all about this stuff all throughout the year. I think I just got dirt on my nose. So plankton is tiny, tiny animals and plants that live in the water. So they filter out the plankton in the water and eat that. So a lot of your crabs are plankton to start out with. These guys are plankton to start out with. Does anyone else know a plankton out there? So the plankton out there that a lot of people don't realize is plankton is jellyfish. Jellyfish. Because plankton are things that can't move on their own much. And then you have your tiny, tiny plants and animals. So this guy likes to eat that. So they help the ecosystem in that way. They filter out the pollutions as well. So you'll find a lot of these guys around the plants here. The plants here are called cordgrass. Cordgrass. So they actually help the cordgrass stay up. And they help this bottom that we saw just before, helps it stay hard, and other animals can live here. So a lot of the other animals that live here we'll talk about again in other episodes, but we have the mussels. We have the clams that we said and we saw. We have oysters. Let's see if I can see any oyster shells around here. Yeah, right here. So we have this guy. It's attached to a rock right now. Doesn't look like much, but that's a very important animal around here. So these ribbed mussels aren't the mussels that your mom or dad or even you might eat, or your friends. The blue mussel is what you would eat. I'm going to show you what that. They look very similar, but you don't want to eat ribbed mussels because, again, they filter out a lot of those pollutants more than a blue mussel. Anyone see the difference? You guys see the difference between the two? A lot of you guys are probably thinking, why are we talking about mussels? So they're very important to the Long Island Sound ecosystem. That's why we're talking about them. We'll talk about all types of animals here on the show. And if you come over to my Facebook Live on Tuesday and Fridays, starting in September, we'll also talk about a lot of the animals. So the difference between the two, one's a little more smooth, right? One doesn't have those ribs. And also, because of its name, might have guessed, one's a little more blue. Right? One's darker. And you'll find these a little further out, clinging to pilings, which are those big wooden poles. So we'll talk about the blue mussels on a different episode. But again, these ribbed mussels, again, filter out the pollution. They help feed other animals. And I want to turn you around really quick because we have some visitors. Does everyone see the mama and her babies? Quick little detour. Drinking some water. Very cool. Yeah, so we talk about these animals because we need to know everything we can about the ocean out here, and we don't know much. But these are very important, again, to the plants here and to the other animals, the other birds. So that brings me to a point. You just saw the swans before we go, that you never want to feed the local animals here at the Long Island Sound or anywhere unless there's native food available for you to feed them. But they help control those populations. Other birds help control these mussel populations. The swans there help control the seaweed population. So if you're feeding them bread, which isn't very good for them, it hurts them as well as the ecosystem here, because we need control of everything. So I just want to put it out there for questions and go right back through some of the key points to this animal here. So we're gonna go, if you guys want to shoot out questions for me before I go. So again, this is our ribbed mussel, and why is because it has those ribs on it, and the ribs, you could actually count its age. And who out there remembers their age, how old they can get? So these guys can get about 15 years old, sometimes a little higher. And why are they important? Because they're filter feeders. Filter feeders, feeding on those plankton, but also get the pollutants out of the water. And those pollutants, bacteria, make them kind of not desirable to eat. They're a little more hard to eat. You want to cook them always. And then if we look inside again, take one of the halves here. Uh-oh, Papa Swan's coming after me. I know. This swan here isn't very nice. I'm gonna wait for him to pass and then we'll go back over. This is what's fun about live shows. You'll get attacked by a swan. Okay, he's passed. All right. So again, the inside here, the animal has some anatomy parts as other animals, not just a shell. So it has those gills, its stomach, it has the foot, and then our mantle here, which you can tell if it's a boy or a girl. And again, I just want to reiterate, if you guys want to do this with me, you could come down, but don't do it by yourself unless you're in an open area where they allow it. So if anybody has any questions, you could write in after, because they come in a little slow. But I want to thank everybody. And again, my name is Kyle Troy, and I am the biologist here at the Marine Education Center for the village of Mamaroneck. And tune in the next couple of weeks with Westchester Children's Museum. And we'll be talking all about different animals in the Long Island Sound. And if you want to tune into mine, that starts in September, but I'll still be doing the Westchester Children's Museum. So come on down to the Marine Center. It's open Monday through Friday right now, 9 until 4. Just wear your masks. All right, thanks everybody. Hope everyone learned something, and I will talk to you guys soon.